Hello, you gorgeous people. My YouTubers and my patrons, hello. Now, you may have noticed that I've clearly got terminal man flu, and it's the worst cold ever, naturally. So yeah, I feel a bit husky today. Now, watercolor is a transparent medium, and you can use it many different ways. But here, as a little bit of an experiment, we're going to be mixing primarily in the palette and then adding that paint onto our painting. And then we're going to be doing another painting next door, not next door because we're staying here, where I've lost my train of thought. It's been derailed massively. Oh God. So in another picture, we're going to be adding pigment on pretty much raw and seeing how it moves around and does its cool things. I love watercolor as a medium. I love the kind of element of chaos that really just improve it in a way, but it does need a level of confidence sometimes, I think, and that confidence just comes from playing and just having fun. So today should be a good example of me messing about, having fun, doing some stuff, and an opportunity for you to sort of learn some things. So let's have a go. Let's see how it goes. Might be a disaster. I'd like to think it gives my voice a sort of deep, sexy vibrancy, but I suspect I just sound like I'm dying, but never mind. So let's define some terms. Like mixing watercolor on the paper is when you get a little bit of each color, or your yellows or your blues or whatever, and you put it onto the paper and actually mix it on the paper. When you're mixing your colors in the palette, what you'll do is you'll get some of your blues and your yellows, and you'll mix your green, and then you'll apply it. Do something pretty basic. That's the dog wandering about. She's been for her walk, so she's sated for the moment, but she may come sniffing for food in a bit. She's a hungry little beast. Right. Now this tree is obviously completely made up. It does look unusually organic. Let's not dwell on that. So there we go, there's our two trees. Not similar, but similar enough. Let's start with this tree over here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some yellow. And this tree is going to be the one that we're going to be mixing just there. Now I'm going to add that yellow in there, and then I'm going to get some cobalt blue. Let's try a bit of that. This is just as we go. Now that's actually quite it's quite nice, but I could do with some darker blue, so I'll go with that little that's India Thorn. Okay, now what I might do is actually a little bit of French ultramarine as well. See, what I'm doing is I'm just adding in some different colours as we go. So the more blue I add in, the more it looks blue. So let's take a bit more green, a bit more yellow, and maybe add a bit more yellow in there. It's gone a bit green again, hasn't it? And then we've got this undershadow here, which worked quite well for the French ultramarine blue here. So add a little bit of that in under the tree. Again, if it looks a bit too blue, you can add a bit of yellow in there, and it'll just take out some of that coldness. So there we go. Now, what I've done is I've used probably about 4 or 5 different colours there and added in some bits and bobs. So the alternative is I guess I would choose yellow, like that, and then I'll choose some French ultramarine. Until I get the sort of green that I want, and then I am painting in Now if I wanted to do some yellow up here to begin with, I guess I could have put some yellow in first and then done this like that, and then put this green up over the top of it. But all you're getting is like a couple of different colour values there. Okay. So for this area here, again, if I do the sort of mixing into the palette version, put a bit more green into there because there's going to be a bit of shadow under here. And then moving out. So again, I'll pick up a little bit of that yellow there, and I'll start with just putting the yellow there. And then I'll take some of this shadow colour that I've done and I'll just dab that in there like that. And so how it would work on this one is I would start pretty similar. I'd go in with the yellow. There's probably a little bit more intensity there because it's the other thing of when you pick it up from the palette, sometimes it's just bigger and bolder. And then I'm going to use some of this French ultramarine here. And again, that's gone a bit bigger and it's gone a bit bolder. Don't mind that. Because when you often pick it up directly from the palette, sometimes you're picking up almost like pure pigment. Whereas when you're mixing it from here, it's obviously a lot more diluted. Okay, so we're going to stop there and I'm going to hairdry that and then go back and add in some more shadows and a few more colours and contrasts. Quite like where that is for the sake of this demonstration. So as you can see here, there is quite a lot of so mixing on the palette pros gives you consistency. You can see what you're doing. You don't waste paint. And you will learn. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's the way that people have been doing watercolours. Now, I would say, what are the pros of trying to mix more paint on the paper? Well, actually, you get a lot of mistakes. That's a pro. Things look a bit more abstract. Things look a bit more free and wild. Things aren't always right. But, you know, looking at this here, look at this fabulous combination of colours up this trunk. You know, there's greens, there's blues. Some are mixed, some are not mixed. It has a sort of, it's almost glowing quality to it. And then this, by comparison, just looks flat. I mean, just for the trunk area alone. And then obviously the bottom looks fine. But this one, when I put some of that blue pigment in, you might not like it. You might think it's a bit over the top. I think it's lovely. I think it gives it a real sense of life and vibrancy. And then when we go to the main body of the tree, obviously I could have gone on and put more and more layers on. But the more layers you put on, the sort of flatter and deader it kind of goes, because you lose that transparency. And that is the real beauty of watercolour, is the transparency. Whereas this has got life, it's got a little bit of verve to it. So my thinking is, you can even see here where, you know, you've got all this different watercolour magic happening, you know, where I've mixed this on the page. Can you see that? You know, you've got one area. It's not like a mono flat colour. It's still mixing. It's still doing its magic thing. I mean, if you were to take just some very, very watery pale yellow and just plonk that in the middle of there and just develop some backgrounds. You know, that's gonna go crazy now. So that's on the paper, that's doing its thing. You can't introduce backgrounds on here and then sort of add them, if you know what I mean. It has to happen on the paper. So there's a lot of alchemy that happens on the paper with watercolour. And I'm not saying that throw your palette away at all. It's really important, you know, particularly if you're doing big washes and stuff. I use it all the time. But all I'm saying is if you're playing, if you're having a paint and an explore and a play, and just having some fun, try painting as much as you can directly onto the subject itself. I hope you enjoyed that. It's a bit of a different one. So that's cool. I'll send you back to the other guy. I'm tired of croaking. Hopefully you can see some of the reasons why I really love to go straight in there with the pigment and straight onto the paper and let it just do its thing and move around. And of course you get different effects with different paper. If you're using something like Cardi paper, you'll get a whole other world of madness, you know, very textured, where the pigment sits in little pockets in the paper and you get a lot more texture. It's a lot of fun. So as always, keep playing, keep experimenting, you know, with all media. The fun thing to do is just think, what have I never done with this before? Is there any way I've not used this? You know, what happens if I mix this and this together? Just have fun with it. Cool. I think that's it. I'm going to go and have a hot drink and lie down and moan like this. Yeah, I'll be fine. I just have to be strong. See you later, guys.